He lived in Spring Creek for, I think probably about 15 years, 20 years.
Okay.
Then he moved to Alaska.
Okay.
And I guess, but he was one of those church people, ministers, and somehow he passed away over there. So,
Oh no, we're probably related somehow.
yeah, just wondering, just something that bounced through.
Live.
Oh, we lost him. Hey, Phil, I think we lost Mr. High Crane.
Oh. He must have. Yksi kello kynjä, tukilalle. Musni. Acute. Acute.
All right, what's up, everyone?
He's back on. Or trying to. Okay.
Don't touch buttons.
He keeps talking in sign language,
Ah,
pressing all the buttons. They said gossipers talk like that.
See, look at you right now.
Yeah,
Session leaders can see how many.
yeah, honey,
Okay.
Roy K, Lila, we wogala kasacha, honey, wogala kacha, her sister, Hoste wana,
wanna tuksha khukya yuhi wahu nan. Everybody, we're getting ready to go live. I want to introduce Matkashi Sam Highcrane.
Frank
Sam.
Rider,
He grew up in Wiwilawakpa, they call that Spring Creek. So they have a story about the Wiwilawichacha he might know about. So my relatives, those of you that are tuning in, my name is Phil Two Eagle. I'm the executive director of the Sichango Lakota Treaty Council, and also I am the chairman of the Sichango Climate Crisis Working Group, which was commissioned over a year ago, 2 years maybe. And we also have some of our climate crisis team members on the call here, but we're here to listen and interview or talk with Sam, Kanshi Sam. He's going to talk about climate change, what he knows, what he grew up with, coming from the Rosebud Sioux Indian Reservation. He currently resides in St. Francis, South Dakota. Very thankful for having Sam here with us today. Sam is battling some illness, but he is still he's a warrior, so he's still fighting every step of the way with cancer, and he's been going through. He even fought through COVID, so we're very happy to have him here with us today. Nakua Lakota Wag Lakoaki will also be switching from Lakota language. He can jump over or back and forth from Lakota and to this foreign language that we speak called English. This British language, huh? Aren't you?
how,
So I'm gonna hand it over to Sam. I want to welcome Chad McNutt, Kara Mulville, Robin O'Malley, and Tahashi James Radlingly, who's tuning in from the Black Hills, and Robin O'Malley is tuning in from Colorado or Utah somewhere, and Chad and Kara are I don't know where Chad is, but Kara is in Wisconsin. Where are you at, Chad? Are you in Wisconsin too?
Nope, I'm in Wyoming, Phil, in Casper.
Oh, Wyoming, cowboy country.
That's right.
We're gonna hand it over. Before we begin, Robin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you say a few words to Sam and let him know what we're trying to do here today?
Well, certainly. Thank you. And Sam, thank you for joining us. I and a small group of people, including Chad and James, are helping Phil and his committee to think about how climate change will affect the people of the tribe and the other living relatives that share the reservation as climate change really comes harder over the next few decades. And then to think about what the tribe might do to make those inevitable hurts be less for the people. We're going to go through some hard times, and understanding what they're going to be in advance is what this is about, and thinking about how we might, how the tribe might position itself to take on some of them.
Thank you, Robin. We're gonna hear from Kanshi Sam on the Lakota perspective about climate change. Kanshi, climate change, Okhatenit Osnini, Mokpala ki Optia Nish, Kapuze Nish, Taku Yexia, Hena Nish, Hani Taku Makilakinash, Uktergi has Uktergi Waglake,
Ongezeker.
Matkanshi talking about the dinosaurs a long time ago. So, well, without any further ado, I'm gonna hand it over to Kanshi Sam. His you, Yuhiya.
Ja, ona iwaye kile na mako meju. You had chantoashta na pechuza. Those of you that are listening to me, I give you a heartfelt handshake today. We have a very miserable day today, very, very cold. I don't ever remember having weather like this in my childhood days. I grew up way back in the early 40s, and I grew up in Spring Creek. Spring Creek al Oymachale. Onata ko ota wiwilawa kpala. Tako ota optawa hill. I've seen a lot of different changes while as a young child growing up. I grew up pretty much alongside my great grandmother, who was Laura Hollowhorn Bear. She became Laura High Crane. Somehow the name got changed somewhere along the line. I think during enrollment, because she told me she was about 9 years old when she was, they were on the move, they were traveling, and she was a young girl, about 9 years old, and they traveled for days and days and days. And one day they arrived at a place, and all you could see was teepees all over the place. And so later on, and a few days later, the warriors came riding through and told all the Eapahas came riding through, and they told all the elders, children, babies, handicapped, all take cover because there was a bad, real bad war going to start. Battle was going to happen. And so they did. And come to find out, it was the Custer's last stand. And so anyway, she used to talk about, I was going to talk Lakota some, but I think most of my listeners may be English speakers only. And I guess from time to time, I should talk Lakota. But she used to talk about way back during the dinosaur days. She believed that throughout the oral history, it talks about dinosaurs, when dinosaurs were here and the skies fell and and the stars fell and it wiped out and the earth shook and it moved, and the volcanoes erupted. All these things took place. And she said, and that day is coming again, because in the first world, we didn't listen. Nature tried to tell us that if we keep up with our bad habits, bad way of life, bad things that we do to each other, she said, it's going to happen again. And you're going to know it when people start getting into real bad drugs, habits. They're going to start killing each other, their own relatives, their own mom and dad, their own children. They're going to throw little baby newborns in the ditch somewhere. They're going to throw them aside and all these things. And earthquakes are going to erupt. High winds, weather's going to change, because way back originally from this life in this world, we started trying to renew the earth. And now we are, when we're lacking and we're failing, that's what she was talking about. We're going to endure all these unnecessary, unwanted things as the tornadoes all over. Look at the weather change. And she said when the volcanoes erupted way back at the end of the first world, she said the world went off of its axis, lost its balance, and it's going to keep turning little by little every time something. Look at the trees we burned up. The firefighters, you send firefighters to the forest fires, and what happens? They sit there and they say, oh, we're going to do a controlled burning. They burn up all the trees. I went over and I tried to complain, but I'm just another person, just another weakling off the branch. And so they don't hear me. I don't know nothing. They have all the education. And so around here, we've had several pretty bad fires. We're almost out of trees around here. And it used to be so beautiful here, even down along Spring Creek. And so these are some of the things that I have noticed. And if you go back again to my childhood days, all these things that Onchichila talked about is today. We are right there at the doorstep. And that end of the world she was talking about, she said, if anybody survives, we're going to have all these sicknesses, bad sicknesses. And if anybody survives, they are going to have a hard time rebuilding, because they're going to have to do it all themselves, because of the way people are. They take life for granted. They don't pay attention to what's going on. So they're not going to be experienced to rebuild. And so when I was a little kid, the rivers in Spring Creek, It's called Spring Creek because almost every little draw, every little canyon you see has springs running out the side of the hill. And through those springs, we have these little people. They call them Wiwilawichasha, spring people. And they take care of our water underneath. They decide where the water is going to come. They decide when to clean the water. They decide why we should clean the water. They would show themselves. But we neglected all those beliefs. And so people have lost their respect to the Wiwilawichasha. Every now and then, people will complain or whatever it is, telling stories about Wiwilawichasha came into their house. Well, maybe somewhere, somehow, somebody is abusing the water. And so they know. And so way back when I was a little kid, we used to be able to go down all those Wiwila springs that came. It all gathered into a river called the Little White River. That Little White River runs all the way to the Big White River and then onto the Missouri River. And so when we were little kids, they let us out the door in the morning. In the summer, we were pretty much all up and down the river. We were through the hills, through the trees. We played all over. It was like a big, big playground for us. And nobody never tried to abuse us. Nobody chased us around. Nobody tried to beat us up. Nothing. We all went along because Spring Creek was the gathering, how do you say it? The resident, I guess, for Chief Hollowhorn Bear and all his people. Today, you'll find Wiwilawakpala as one of the Wiwilawakpala, Parmelee, I think Upper Cutmeat. There's only just a few who still speak the Lakota language. And I happen to be one of the ones from Spring Creek. I think there's probably only about 4 or 5 of us left from that community, and the community is probably a little less than 1,000 people. And so we are also struggling to stay and keep our language and culture going. And so when I was a little kid, we ran up and down the rivers. We drank river water because it was pure at the time. In the 1950s, early, maybe not even in the 60s, we had a big runoff. Snow melted in the spring. In May, we had a big blizzard. And right after it snowed and blizzard for probably a whole week. Pretty soon everybody was out of food and we had to go look for food, because we have to remember that all source of survival was taken away after the Little Bighorn battle. They made us treaties and they promised they're going to do this for us if we let them do this. Well, true, they took everything we had, left us with nothing. No sense of survival, no way to survive. If you were hungry, that's just too bad, because rations ain't going to come for another month. And I experienced that as a little kid. And so we had no guns, no knives, no nothing to feed our families. But still, we managed somehow. Somebody snuck 22 into the community, brought it from somewheres. And so everybody took turns. It was like a golden gun. And everybody took care of it, had respect for it, because that was our only source of survival. And people made knives out of bones. And so it was pretty rough, but originally the elders, they knew how to survive already. So they kind of tuned us right into which way to go.
Actually, lampe, ik ga lo sneakje, lampe.
La,
Nelaat het angel on as is dit.
oh shit. Yeah, probably the one that follows me around.
Mother Khan was you like lo have to head you are ilagave.
That was the only thing, the only survival kit we had was, if you were going to use it, you had to at least buy yourself your own shells, because everybody else, those 22 shells were something very special, and you had to have it. And so at a young age, I used to go hunting with my uncles. I had 2 uncles who were very good hunters, and I had grandparents that were also really outgoing. And so they organize a picture Tokia. So then the deer were all over the place. But we had to, because it was a 22, you had to learn to get right up close to the deer, because the deer will see you, 2 canyons away, and they'll be making tracks. But you had to learn how to approach them and make sure you take some meat home. And it was, and then we had to do our if the deer was killed, I hate using that word, but I can't find the word. I just mentioned I'm a Lakota speaker, so sometimes
harvest.
Hard for me to speak, throw an English word in there. So So anyway, we had to do ceremonies when the deer was harvested. We had to cut it open and we had to do our ceremony offering. We had to offer to Tongashila, the Great Spirit, for giving us another day to live of food, even though it may not be much. It meant a lot because when we got it home, we butchered it and we passed it all out to the elders. We gave it all out to the elders, depending on what size the family was. And it wouldn't do any good to hang on to it anyway, because sometimes these horseback riders, government would come around, and if they find your food, they'll take it all away from you. So it was better to share than to lose it. And so in the 60s, I started talking about snow melting. And we had a big blizzard, and it must have snowed probably 3 feet, almost 4. And then the snow ran off, melted, and it ran off. And right behind the school building in Spring Creek, there was a big school that they built. And so behind the school was a curve in the river, and that curve started eroding towards the school. So the BIA went and gathered all kinds of car bodies from all over the reservation. They hauled it down there and they threw them in the erosion, in the bank, in the river bank. And those car bodies are still there today. We asked them to pull them out because back in the 80s, 90s, we couldn't swim in the river anymore because when little children went to swim, they got sores all over. The skin just kind of break open and start sores. And so we had to move to have BIA remove all those car bodies from the river bank. But they did some of it. Some of it, they hauled a bunch of rocks because that wasn't the only erosion we had along the river. There was some other places. They pulled the car bodies from some of the other areas. And today, that one behind the old school still exists. It's still there, all them car bodies. And if you go down along the river, you're going to see car bodies in the river today. And people left their, if they had a vehicle way back then, and eventually, or they parked it maybe close to the river, and now those car bodies throughout the years, they fell into the river. And so there's car bodies all along the river. And so that's, that's pretty bad because we can't drink it no more. And even in the springs, somehow you find different kinds of cans that people, hunters, maybe threw out of the car or wherever they were at, and maybe it blew down into the springs area, and there goes the pollution. And my great grandmother used to say, "You see that up there?" And it wasn't every day you could see an aircraft flying by. And she would say, "You see that smoke coming out? That's what's going to really ruin the air. We won't be able to breathe that good air because the air is going to be polluted. Our animals are not going to be able to eat and survive. They may be able to eat, but they're not going to be able to survive with all that oil." All that oil falling from the sky down to the ground and into the ground, and it's going to hurt Unchimanka. And Unchimanka has to survive. If we're going to survive, Unchimanka is going to have to help us, and we have to do our share to allow Unchimanka to help us to survive. And so today, we don't have, I used to hunt all the time because I love my deer meat. I think during my childhood days, I talked about starvation. Starvation, we had to go as a very young child, we had to make slingshots and be able to hit a bird. And the dove was probably the main course because they weren't as wild as some of the other birds. And the dove had a lot of meat on the breast, so you could eat rabbit, squirrels, beavers, porcupine, all kinds of food we had, but we had to make our own weapons to survive. And so today, I haven't gone hunting for probably about 6 years because all of a sudden the deer became diseased. They call it a wasting disease, and they call it a blue tongue. They say their tongues swell up, and then they go and they try to cool off. Evidently, their bodies get heated, and so they go and they lay in the river, and then they suffocate. They suffocate themselves trying to stay alive by breathing the cold water. And so I haven't gone hunting today. I don't know if it's nationwide or just around here, but I do blame that water that's running through the rivers and through the springs and the grass that they eat with the plains discharging all the oil from up above. And so now we're the ones suffering. Look at all the cancer that's happening today. I never once knew, never once thought I thought I was always up to par with my health. I was, you know, very healthy. I was pretty healthy until about 6 years ago. All of a sudden, they told me I had cancer. I couldn't believe it. Today, I probably only have a half a lung left, and I'm on oxygen all the time. They pulled my other lung out. So that's all from pollution. And how I got it, I don't know. But I know my day, my days aren't very long. I'm 78 years old now, so, but I have to keep going strong because I have a family, I have grandkids, I have great grandkids. So, and we can't even fish in the rivers no more. We fish in the rivers. It might have not been much. We ate a lot of bullheads, suckers, carp. All those no longer exist. I don't even know what's in the rivers anymore. I don't even think you could find shiner. They used to sunfish. They used to call them. I don't even think you could find them anymore. All our butterflies, birds, man, in the morning in Spring Creek, you wake up, the birds wake you up. They're all singing their own.
Magpie Hummer.
There was a lot of magpies back then. They were the most important because it seemed like they woke up everybody. The Lakota people used to call them, or at least in Spring Creek, Wayakela, means like gossipers. They go, if you had meat somewheres, them you'll be sure the magpie's gonna know about it, and they're going to yap, 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 and let people know. People gonna say, "Oh, there's something going on over there." Boy, that magpie sure making a lot of noise, and so they're telling on you that you have meat, and they're gonna go over there and.
Now you have to share your meat.
Yeah. So we used to have a lot of different kinds of birds. We had magpies, we had blackbirds, we had blue jays. Blue jays was another noisy one. We had crows. We still might have a few crows left.
Woodpecker.
Blackbirds, you don't hardly see them anymore.
Woodpeckers.
Woodpeckers, you don't see hardly any woodpeckers. Robins are still around, thank goodness. Thank Tonkashira for leaving us those very appreciated life.
We got about 20 minutes. 20 minutes at you, Habash. Tell the people what you want with the climate change. What do you recommend to the Oyate to do to prepare for the future?
I think to prepare for the future, we need to pick up our own trash. We can't go just because the tribe solid waste charges, and they do. They charge quite a bit, in my opinion. And if you go to haul your trash, they still charge you. And so somehow we need to fix that money part. so that people don't go throwing trash out the window. Driving down the highway, they throw trash out. They throw beer boxes, wine bottles, whatever it is. They throw it out the window. And that becomes a hazard to everything that comes around. And so we need to somehow maybe pay the people that are picking up, just the other day, one of my relatives made a video. He was out in the prairies somewhere, and there's a whole bunch of trash and a whole bunch of bedding, and they throw it all out. Originally, even Pampers are a bad news. Because the waste of a how do you say wakanja, the most pure of the human being, which is the infant who is in Pampers or in diapers. Way back then, they used foxtail before this new world came about. And they talked to the women about how to get rid of this infant disposal, the oh gee. How are they going to dispose of the sacred thing? And so they didn't never throw diapers or Pampers. There was none back then. So you had to take out the foxtail, clean the cradle all out, and re-nest it. And so that's what was inside the cradle. And so that was well enforced. Today you see Pampers all over the highway. And it's really sad that they've lost respect for their own children, for their own people, their own ways of life. And this easy life business is ruining the heck out of us. I've worked hard, I think, all my life. Ever since I got about 9 years old, I used to work in the fields, in the sugar beets, cornfields, farming fields, maybe harvesting corn, all these things I went through. We didn't believe in laying around watching TV. There was no TV. One of my students said, well, if you didn't have TV, if you didn't have electricity, how did you watch TV? I had to tell him, well, I had to go way out in the hills to watch my live movie every day. I was asked to talk to some high school students, and I went in their classroom, and as time went on, one of the students asked me, so where'd you come from, after I introduced myself? So I said, well, I don't know, I just told you just now. Well, I didn't hear you. So I said, well, okay, I came from a world a complete different world. I came from another world. And they looked at me and they said, "You came from another world?" So I said, "Yep, sure did. I came from a complete opposite world of what you guys are living in today." And it's the truth. You know, none of this easy living when I was growing up. If we wanted something, we went and worked for it. And so as far as fixing Unchimanka, we're gonna have to pick up after ourselves and join the crowd who's trying to clean the earth. Look what happened at Standing Rock. All the water protesters. Look what happened. The government came and shot up the kids and the people, the women, the old folks. I mean, is that a way to fight a war? I mean, are we going to go to Ukraine today and shoot up their elders and go to Russia and clean out their little kids? What are we going to do? These are the things we need to think about and do it. There's a positive way of doing these things. And if we all put our mind together, you know, we can accomplish some of these things. Might not be an overnight thing, but we can start somewheres. And I'm pretty much, I think we're pretty much at the end of this world. And we're going to, it might not end completely, you know, there's going to be somebody left someplace who's going to start all over. And I'm glad that my great-grandmother warned us way back then about this environment that's going to take us away. Today we have meth, we have drugs, we have things that wipe us out and take away all our pride and throw it into the trash can and throw it away, throw the life out the window. This is the kind of situation that we're in. So we need to clean up all the way around. We need to bring the government, the police force. How are we going to encourage police force when there's no money? They keep saying there's no money. They do background check, so nobody can't work. So we have to fix it somehow. So we need to explore all these areas, I guess. So
Kataka, lila okhatikte, nis lila usnikte. Tipi kaha pikelena ku tochtakte naku.
and that was what I mentioned. The world was rolling over on its axis. So eventually, my great-grandmother said, the world is the days, the heat, the weather, it's all going to change because of that axis business. So we need to fix that. I talked about trees burning up. That tree is a big part of our world, our lives. Not only us, the animal world, the Wamakashkan out there, they need to breathe too. And they need to eat. They need to water so that we can get good nourishment. Go ahead, Chato Ernesto.
We have about 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Anybody have anything they want to throw at me?
James, do you have any comments, observations? James Tanshi, James,
Oh,
Jimmy,
James.
Shimon.
Anoche.
Sam. You guys should have said Geek Yo. Wake me up. I took a nap here. No, it's 'cause
Ah,
no, this is good, Sam. Thank you for your time, and I'm sorry to hear about your health concerns and where you're at right now. And we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers. I think you know, your ideas and the history and the context of Spring Creek and really the connection between the physical and the spiritual are important. I think we need to make sure that we include that in our reports and going forward. I do think that that history is really good, and I think these videos will help document that history again from your perspective and your experience from your family in Teoshwe. I think going forward we're going to need your leadership, and certainly we need to go deeper with you as time avails. I think we need a really good elder leader kind of a project that captures the stories in Lakota, and also your recollections of food and the idea of food sovereignty. I think those are really good, and I think they've really strengthened this report and gives us a lot of good context and background for how we go forward. So, Opila Tanka Chichapalo.
oh, yeah.
Matkashi mentioned his grandma talked about the heat and the cold that we're going to experience. But if you take a look at our housing, look at the house behind Matkashi Sam. During the summer, I'm sure it gets really hot in those. They call them, some are transitional homes and some are Sioux 400s.
400.
Yeah, they're not very good insulated. So they have a technology called rammed earth bricks, earth bricks, and it doesn't. The materials come right from the ground. It's a clay they use that people could think about looking at in the future for housing, because the trees are there's a lot of forest fires, and the cost of lumber is too high, and then you have forest fires all over the country. So I hope they don't burn down those redwood trees in California. But
Yeah.
if you pile up a bunch of earth bricks and maybe use a little bit of some of our logs, at some time we were we had enough trees to make 100 homes a year. But we've had a couple of 2 or 3 forest fires here on the Rosebud. So the building technology is going to have to change. It's one of the areas that we're talking that we need to talk to the tribe, to housing authority. They really need to change their technology, make it cheaper and make it safer, and thinking about the future, the cold and the heat that's coming, the drought and the high winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds. Not too long ago, I think Robin knows about there was 100-mile-an-hour winds went to the Colorado and burned down over 60-some houses over there. And I'm not sure what became of that, Robin.
Yeah, it was actually 600 structures that were
600.
burned.
Yeah.
And the fire started, and there was nothing to do but get out of the way, and whole apartment blocks would burn up. And the TV footage was horrible. But yeah, 106-mile-an-hour winds.
We have about 6 more minutes. Anybody have anything? Chad or Kara?
These houses, when they were built back in the 60s, they were designed for southern area like Texas and those areas. So the walls are pretty thin. They're only like
4 inches.
yeah, 4 inches, 4 inches thick, and not much, only about 2-inch insulations. So when the hard winter hits, you know, people, the stoves catch on fire, and there goes a house, there goes another one, there goes a trailer house, you know, all these things. So we need to suit ourselves up and play ball game.
5 more minutes.
Hey, Phil, this
Well,
is Chad. I don't have anything.
Okay.
Sorry, Sam.
yeah, so if we all muster together and stay together and believe the same thing and believe in each other, I think we can accomplish. And it may not be a whole big deal in 1 year. It's going to take a while. So
Dan, what would you like to say to the tribal council?
well, I would try to tell them, if you're going to spend money, spend it on us, the people, you know, to build houses. We keep hollering houses. We keep talking about we're running out of houses. We don't have no houses. We have homeless. So how are we going to fix it? Let's find a way. We all have our different ideas. Let's put them all together and make an issue out of it. If we have to go to DC, if we have to go to the South Dakota building, let's do it. We need to, it doesn't matter if we're white, black, green, or whatever. You know, we all have the same, we're equal. We all have the same qualities as the next person. That's the way I look at it.
Sam, do you think we should build solar on each house or produce our own energy?
I think solars work really good. Over in New Mexico, you see aluminum cans, bottles, all these are stuck in the walls and made
Earth ships.
earth adobes. Yeah. So they're pretty helpful. They stay warm.
I want to thank you, Sam. Wopila Kanka Chichielo Kanshi. Thank you for your wisdom, and hopefully the future generations will be able to send them a strong help and message that we have to take care of Mother Earth. What we know is Mother Earth, Unchimanka, is alive, and she is in pain. They said she's hurting, so we got to hurry up and get to work on climate change. We have to do our part. We have to start driving electric cars. I hope Robin's in an electric car over there, wherever he's going.
Yeah. We're going to have to somehow use those smart cars and put 4 wheels on those.
I hope Robin, your car has a sail on it and it's electric.
Oh, boy, do I wish. Boy, do I wish.
Okay, thanks.
Let me just add my thanks as well to Sam. That was very much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for listening. At least you didn't fall asleep.
Thank you for your time, Sam.
How, Wopila.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam.
I hope I didn't make anybody mad or leave anything out. I know I left a lot of stuff out, but other than that,
The next time we see Robin, he's gonna have a sail on there and an electric car, and he's gonna be pedaling it like a bike.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Pilau Yapalo. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna end here.
Whoop,
And,
hello.
Aho, Mitaka, yes.
Whoop.